Thanks.
Oh, so sad.
All right, are we ready to let them in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Here they come.
Sweet, sweet. Hello, Karen. We'll be getting started in just about a minute or two. Hello, Miss Krishana. How you doing?
Hello, how are you today?
Doing good.
That's
Glad to see
good.
you all. Right, let's see. But Leah, is that Leah? Hey, Miss Leah. How you doing?
Hello.
Time to look. Iris Jean.
I
Hello.
turned the audio off because I'm using the blender.
Okay. No problem. What are you making?
Sofrito.
Oh, nice.
It's a Puerto Rican seasoning. It's onion, garlic, cubanelle peppers, or ají dulce, which they look like Scotch bonnets,
Uh-huh.
but they're half the size and they don't burn.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
it's good to put on fried chicken.
and then cilantro, and then you blend it all up.
Okay, so Leah, do they not burn, like they don't get black in the pan, or they don't burn your tongue?
Like they don't burn your tongue.
Right.
Okay.
Hey,
I don't
Monica.
burn
Like,
it
like
all.
before, like if I want to add like a depth to of flavor, I'll make a homemade sofrito, marinate it on top of the chicken, and then
Mhm.
let it sit in there for overnight. Then take it out and then do a buttermilk batter and fry it.
All right, we've added a whole new level to these events.
I
Could we
love it.
message our people in the waiting room to let them know we're gonna let them in just a minute?
I think we've let everybody in. I thought Erica had done that, so
Yeah.
let me double check that.
Then we should be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You use it to make stews, you know, carne guisado, pollo guisado, make rice and beans, make rice, make beans and mix them together. Pigeon peas and rice.
Wow, what a great way to start the
Thank
night.
you. We're going to go ahead and get started in just like a half a second. Just want to say thank you all for joining. Hi, Ms. Robin. Hey, Ms. Monica. Good to see you all. If I missed your name, I apologize. I'm still trying to get connected with the technology. So I don't want to overlook anybody by no means, but welcome once again to Resilient Journeys. We are so glad that you all are here. As we begin, just taking a quick deep breath, just a quick moment to center ourselves. If you want to grab something to drink, hot, cold, or in between, whatever you choose, it's up to you. But we're going to go ahead and once again just get started. Welcoming you once again to the Resilient Journey series. And today we're going to be talking about what else? Charting the life course, culturally rooted resilience for families. And so with my panelists that I have today, they'll be able to share from their end what it looks like to be culturally resilient within their family. So we're going to go ahead and get going. And Celia, if you don't mind, if there's any questions in the chat, if you can just put that off for us.
Absolutely, I'm watching it for you.
Okay, thank you. My name's Brandy Muhammad. If you don't know already, I am Brandy, one of the creators or the original creator of Resilient Journeys. Thanks to the amazing Family Resource Network of Ohio team, I'm able to do what I do. We have this monthly series for Black and Brown moms. Everybody's included and welcome to participate. You know, it's kind of funny. The other day, I just heard somebody say, for example, you see everybody in the boxes, right? So let's pretend each of you are in a house, right? And with you being in that house, if there happened to be a situation where a fire occurred, right? Just imagine, let's just pray it never happens, but a fire occurred. So let's say for right now, the fire is Black and Brown moms. That's the emergency we're going to. So we're hitting with Charting a Life Course and Resilient Journeys, those Black and Brown moms, because they're on fire trying to get the information, or we're trying to give us all the information. Everybody in all the houses are all important. Everybody's face on camera, those faces that aren't on camera are just as important as the Black and brown moms. However, we're striving at this moment to make sure that that house that's on fire is getting extinguished, and they're learning about charting a life course the way that that we're able to teach it. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. Just a couple informational things about myself. I am an information specialist with Ohio Coalition for the Education of Children with Disabilities in Northwest Ohio. I have 13 counties. I'm also a Family Ohio ambassador for Charting the Life course. And last but not least, I am part of the bench, as Celia says, with the Family Resource Network of Ohio. So I'm contracted to do what I do. As you can see, I got a couple of titles that I put down. I mean, I could tell you a billion, but these are just a few. Most important, I'm a child of God. I'm a mom. I'm also a widow of 6 years. I'm a sister and a friend, an auntie and a caregiver, and more. Feel free, if you have any questions, would like to know more about Resilient Journeys, feel free to reach out to me via email. My email is here, and we'll just continue on from there. Once again, just want to say thank you, big thanks to our small but mighty team with the Family Resource Network of Ohio. Because of them, I'm able to do what I'm doing here with you all. And so if you don't know, the Family Resource Network of Ohio is Ohio's official hub for Charting the Life course, which means that we are all that in a bag of chips, right? We are doing what we do. We are sharing with the world, Charting the Life course and what it looks like and how the framework can be used for everybody, how the framework and tools can be integrated into your life and your family's life, those individuals with disabilities, those without disabilities, and it can be for any age. So this is a little bit more about the Family Resource Network of Ohio. So what we're going to do now is a quick meditation. And I do not think my friend Aisha is on. She was having some technical difficulties, but she did send me over the quick meditation. So if you guys don't mind, just finding a comfortable seat. And if you can just let your feet rest flat on the ground. And if it feels okay, just close your eyes just for a second. Take a slow and deep breath in through your nose and release it fully through your mouth. Thank you. Now feel the weight of your feet pressing into the floor. And we're going to imagine our roots growing from the soles of our feet, reaching deep into the earth, steadying you, supporting you, and also holding you. Now, if you can take a moment just to place one hand over your heart and breathe in deeply and filling your chest and also belly, and say to yourself, I am enough, I am strong, and I am rooted in love. Bring to mind your child's smile. Notice the warmth of that love in your heart. As you exhale, gently release any tension, any pressure that you've been carrying. Take one more deep breath in and hold it softly for a moment and let it go. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and your toes and slowly opening your eyes. Grounded, renewed, and at peace. Thank you for taking the moment out with me. And thank you, Aisha. Now today, we are going to have an opportunity to learn about these three amazing women that you can see on the screen. We're starting first with Leslie Joyner. Her daughter is Nevaeh. Next to her, we have Lady Extreme Nicole, and her son is Stephen. And last but not least, we have Miss Anika Drafton, and her daughter is Grace. And so each person will share about the buckets, which is a principle within Charting the Life course, the framework, and they'll share from their organization what it looks like filling in those buckets personally and also professionally.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Joyner. I'm
Hold on,
glad
Sister
to.
Leslie, give me
Oh,
one second. Not yet, not yet.
okay.
I'll get right to you in just a second. Let me just give you a little bit more information in reference to the 3 buckets. So once again, you see there's 3 buckets, and these are supporting families. And then once again, the 3 buckets are all principles. When we talk from the professional standpoint, we look at helping families, providing support for families, right? And we focus actually many times as professionals on goods and services. But we know and we recognize as family members, we need more than just goods and services, right? We need more than a waiver. We need more than healthcare. We need additional things. And so we'll have more conversation about that. Sometimes we need information about disabilities and the diagnosis, or about a particular program or therapy. And we need opportunities sometimes for us to be able to talk to others who have been in our shoes and can help us get to that next step. Let me just give you a sidebar. Sometimes, as I said before, the goods and services may be heavier or more full in the bucket. But the beautiful thing is you always want to have a balance between the 3. When we talk about discovering and navigating, which is your blue bucket, we're having conversations and putting information in that'll help you navigate your good life for yourself and also for your family. You might not, let me just say that again. Sometimes you don't need everything, but some information can help you make decisions or decide what to do and what not to do. When we look at connecting and networking, which is the orangish color bucket, that's making connections with your peers, as I said earlier, and also getting resources to help you navigate. Who's been in your shoes? Who's done this before? How can they help me? How can they, maybe even encourage me to keep going from day to day? The last bucket is the goods and services, and that's the day-to-day tangible items that you might buy or you use in the public and private organizations in your community. Remembering that these things can help you connect with others and make your day-to-day life possibly a little bit easier and definitely successful. Making sure that you fill in each bucket, the ultimate goal is for your good life for yourself and for the person you're supporting. Just a quick reminder, our panelists this evening will be sharing how they're using their 3 buckets in their organizations that they're representing and also in their personal lives. I thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you for our panelists being vulnerable to share the information. Sometimes it may be, you have the information, you're like, oh, this is easy, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. And so for us being able to be here together and you as the audience member being able to listen, to learn, hopefully, to gain some additional tools, how to fill your buckets for your success and also for your family members. That's what we're all about here with Resilient Journeys. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Leslie Joyner with the NAMI organization.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. I don't know if she's going to show the buckets or not, but I'm kind of going to stick to the buckets a little bit, but I was in prayer and the Lord told me to share my testimony. So everything is going to kind of tie in together concerning my child that has disabilities and then how I end up connecting with NAMI, our great organization. So starting off, and the testimony is long, so I'm going to definitely condense it, but I have a 23-year-old daughter and her name is Nevaeh. And at the time of her birth, when she was born very physically deformed from head to toe. She was born with broken legs, contracted arms, legs. She looked like she might have had a stroke. Her mouth was twisted, eyes. She just was very deformed. And when I looked at her, again, not knowing that she was going to live or die, but I knew immediately that whatever was going to take place, that it definitely was the Lord's doing. And I remember them beginning to just started bagging her. And when they got her back breathing and seen that she made it through the night, then they transported her to Children's Hospital. She was born with a very rare condition that at the time of her birth, she was the only child in the United States that had this condition, but there was only like 3 in the world. So naturally, they didn't know much about it, grabbing books at the time of her birth, trying to figure out what was going on, scared to touch her because they didn't know if they touched her that her bones would break again. So, we went through this for a while. She ended up having a lot of her conditions, or a lot of pulmonary issues. She had scoliosis and kyphosis. So we've had a lot of surgeries throughout the 23 years. She's gone through different types of surgeries. We've had, like I said, so many different things that had taken place with her condition. They gave us a certain time frame. At first, they, of course, didn't think she was going to make it through the night. Then they gave us a couple months, for weeks and months. And then they said at the most it would be 6 years for this particular condition. And of course, we know God has a final say. Here we are 23 years later. She was in the hospital the first year, the full year, before I could even bring her home. And then after that, we have had hospital visits after hospital visits throughout her whole life. We would come home a week, we stay home a week or 2, and then go back and stay 3 weeks. So we've done this, throughout her lifespan. As she got older, each time as she gets older, probably every 4 or 5 years, it's a different set of issues that we deal with medically, which has us in a hospital a lot. And they still, thank God, at Children's Hospital, they still continue to treat her because of her condition. They'll be able to continue to treat her the rest of her life. So we're grateful for that. And so in the midst of that, at the time, there was just so much going on, and tying in the mental health aspect to it. I on autopilot, just going all the time. And looking back at it now, I just remember at times with some of these hospital visits and things that I remember being exhausted and kind of depressed, not realizing at the time that I was depressed, but just exhausted, yet still having to press on in all of this. And so bringing me up to current, we just recently had a hospital stay where we have been dealing with, she has a feeding tube. We have been dealing with the issue with this feeding tube since November. And so we've been in and out of the hospital. And then this last stay that we had, she's had a couple surgeries, but I think it was from like the middle of May till the last week of July. She was in the hospital constant this whole stay. And I was sharing that this particular stay was a little different than normally. It was a little heavier, physically, mentally, spiritually. It was just a different type of weight that came along with it. So bringing me up, connecting it with Nomni. I ran for office in my town, city council, Delaware, Ohio. And one of the things that was close to my heart, I am a outreach person. I love outreach, and I started doing outreach with my church. It turned into, something just much bigger for me personally. And then I end up running for office. And one of the things, the issues that was dear to my heart is the children in our neighborhood, their mental health state. I was very concerned because of some of the conditions that they live in. And just the environments of their home. I really desire to have a space for them to come if they wanted to just sit and breathe and, have someone to talk to, cry, whatever they needed to just be able to make it through the day and to get them prepared for another day. I wanted to provide that space. So I was on a journey to try to figure out, what kind of program I can connect with, what can I do? And I end up running into a young lady that I met that was connected with Nomni, Miss Tanitha Freeman, down at our First Fridays, and talking with her and was telling her, my desire as to what I wanted to do. And from there, it just sparked an awesome relationship, and I end up connecting with them. Now, fast forward, going into this and going through their program and becoming a volunteer and running a few of their programs, then ended up being on the board. not realizing at this particular time period in my life, I'm in my mind thinking I'm doing this because of the children, but not really knowing that at this particular point right here, I would need that and their services, more than ever. And I look back now and I'm thinking, if I had known about a nominee or even had a discussion with someone who knew anything about connecting you with support groups and things of that nature, things probably could have been a little different for me. So that's kind of how, I got on my mental health journey with that, realizing, having one purpose to do it, but then realizing that at this point that I would need the support just because where I was at, mentally and thinking and feeling. So with that, I joined Nomni and I was able to, like I said, become a part of their group with volunteering. And we have some awesome programs. I found out that, there's so much to mental health. It's not, in my mind, just thinking, oh, if it's schizophrenia or, something of that nature, you think drastic than mental health, of course, being ignorant of it. And then, of course, getting in here and getting into this organization and realizing that there's so many components to mental health and so many different, categories. And it's not any one little thing. Trying to break the stigma of it is a little challenging, especially when it comes to, faith-based, which is one of the programs that we are dealing with as well, trying to connect and bridge the gap between faith-based communities to deal with, the epidemic that we're having with this. So, like I said, with NAMI, going with them, some of the programs that we have coming into, with the resources, we have, family to family. It's all peer-based and volunteer, which is what I love about it. So, everybody that you're dealing with or connecting with some way or another has dealt with or has a family member that has dealt with some type of mental illness on some type of level. And everybody is there to be such an awesome support as to what you need. And if you need something, for veterans, we got a program for veterans. We have, a program for ending the everyday silence for teachers and students. We have Hearts and Minds that helps you, learn about eating healthy and how eating and things in your body helps trigger, mental health episodes. We've got family to family peer groups. So they just have a plethora of resources for whatever it is that you need, to be able to be supported. And if there's nothing, if we don't have what you need, we go out of our way to try to connect you, hotlines, suicide lines, things of that nature. We just had some things connected with the suicide walks. So it's just, it's a lifesaver, I think, like I said. And for me, my why was to do with the children, but of course it ended up dealing with me. So having those services available was just an awesome tool to help me as well as to help these children with the programs that we're now starting. I'm excited about it because it's going to be able to really, really reach a lot of children at the age group that I really desired to start at, between the 8 and 11 age group. And then the resources as far as with the hospital, some of the things, like I said, there was not any type of support group or anything of that nature at the time that when my child was born. So I didn't have anything, but there are some things that I had a particular caseworker with. I was at the time I was in Columbus, Franklin County services, and they don't really tell you a whole lot of what's available. Sometimes I find that you have to really, really, kind of dig in yourself. They're not going to they did not then. I don't know about now because I'm not in Franklin County, but I know especially for women of color, they did not go out of their way to provide these services for you. So you really, really had to. But I noticed now that here in Delaware, they do help a little better. And then also with the hospital, there are things, you had to deal with conservatory, ship, just whatever that I need, whether it be helping get the supplies together, connecting you, you know, with vendors as to who does what, who can home deliver this, who, you know, nurse aides and things of that nature. So they have caseworkers at the hospital that were very instrumental in helping me with these things that I'm thankful for. And it's a lot better now than it was in the beginning. Like I stated, everybody kind of was really kind of hands off because they were really actually afraid because they weren't really sure as to, you know, what was going on with her, what, you know, what the situation was. So they were kind of, you know, scared to really try to figure to do a lot. But as the years have gone on, I said, it's
Leslie,
funny.
let me
now.
just pause you. Let me pause you for just a second because we're kind of
Mhm.
winding up on the time.
Okay.
Before I let you go, and I'll ask everybody at the my panelists at the end as well. I just want to repeat what I believe I heard you say in reference to the
Mhm.
buckets. So when you
Yes.
talked about goods and services, you were saying that the hospital now,
Mhm.
not then, have
Right.
you know you gained a lot more information and been able to fill your bucket that way, right? When you
That's
talk
correct.
about for NAMI discovering and navigating, it wasn't always at the beginning. It was a process for you to navigate through that. And so that's
Mhm.
how you, as a professional, but then also as a mom, you had to fill in your bucket just learning about NAMI and the different organizations, not organizations, but the different
Services.
departments or different classes that they offer.
Mhm.
And then last but not least, what I also heard you say was the family to family in reference to the connecting and networking and how they have peer support groups. And like the family to family, you also have the peer to peer. You said some other ones with the veterans and et cetera. So that's how you were able to fill your bucket for Nevaeh, but then also for yourself within the
Exactly.
organization of NAMI, right?
Exactly. That's
Before I
exactly.
let you go, I do want to ask you a question, but just hold on until everybody else gets through so you can
Okay.
have it in your mind. And also same thing for you, Anika, and also for Lady Extreme. What will you do next once you've completed the 3 buckets? And then the second question is, will you complete one for your family members that you're supporting as well? And will you share out with others? So hold those questions in your mind to the end, okay?
Okay.
All right, awesome. I'm gonna jump over. Thank you so much, Sister Leslie. I'm gonna jump over
Mhm.
next.
You're muted, Brandy.
Okay, I don't know how I got muted, but next I'm gonna jump over to our commissioner. I think she's just with Franklin County at this moment, but I just say a national commissioner for ADA, Lady Extreme Nicole. She's going to share her 3 buckets and how she's created the All Disabilities Fest. This is her 11th year in Columbus, and so I'll quiet myself and pass the mic over to Lady Extreme.
Well, first of all, the first panelist, my girl, you just rocked it. So thank you for that. Brandy, thank you so much for having me a part of. What's important to me about these buckets, it calls a time of reflection. The All Disabilities Festival is going into its 11th year. Come here, Stephen. Can you come and say hi to everybody? And you got to come close to my cheek. So, yeah, come here. So I want y'all to meet, my son real quick. Can y'all see him? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my son, Steven. He is the reason, thank you, baby, you can go back. He's the reason why the All Disabilities Festival got started, because at the time when he's 19, and when I found out about autism, I really didn't know what it was. And one thing that I realized is community likes to come together to see themselves. And so the festival came about because I wanted to have an opportunity for resources, fun, and just activities, because some people have a shame factor when it comes down to finding out about a diagnosis. I didn't know what autism was 19 years ago, and I had no idea what it was, but for the past, he was 5 years old when I started the All Disabilities Festival. So wait a minute, 5, 9, honey, I can't even, he was young, because I'm trying to do some minusing. But the main objective is discovery and navigation. Once you discover your child or adult has a disability, it allows you to navigate with information, education, and skill building. That allows you to say, okay, I found out, I want to navigate this process. That's bucket number 1. Bucket number 2 is connecting and networking. What happened with the All Disabilities Festival, it gave me an opportunity to, those times when you're thinking you're by yourself, you're all alone, that there's nobody that's going through what you're going through, you have opportunity to see it in action, if you will. At the festival, it helped me recognize and realize that there's more people dealing with what I'm dealing with, and in the same token, it just allowed me to have resources that I didn't know about available for families who might not have known about that. So that connection and community, belonging together, understanding that you deserve a space, you deserve a voice, and it's okay. Then we're talking about goods and services. Goods and services the festival was a tangible support that met daily needs. So for instance, there's opportunities that I would have different vendors from various organizations to come and be able to bring resources to the community, because a lot of people, when you find out about a diagnosis, the festival is for all disabilities, different disabilities, and it's for families, caregivers. And here's another part of the festival that I tell people about. It's also for seniors. I have a senior pavilion at the festival, because if you live long enough, you too will have a disability. So I wanted to make sure that everybody had a tangible, realistic viewpoint on the need and the resources that's necessary from 0 to 100. And my son was the reason why I started it. And so I started 11 years ago. Well, 3 years ago, I end up having a disability. I got into several car accidents dealing with brain concussions and all the things, and then I had an accident where I tore my calf muscle. It was cut open, and so I can't walk long distances. So now I'm on a mobile scooter. Well, here I am. The festival ended up being for me. And so I needed resources, and my disability was totally different. So I'm glad that I made it for everybody. But the main thing is to encourage families and encourage people to say, not only are you not by yourself, here's an opportunity to have fun and take away the shame factor. And that's the main objective for the All Disabilities Festival. And now I'm a commissioner for the City of Columbus ADA. So I'm excited about that. So that's why we do what we do. And that's the reason why these buckets are important for you to write down and reflect, so that you know you're not alone.
Thank you, Lady Extreme. Definitely appreciate you. And you also just got a reward, or maybe not you, but the All Disabilities Fest just received an award as well, correct? Could you just share a little bit about that? Who gave you all the award?
So yes, the All Disabilities Festival, we do a Christmas in July where we give away over 1,000 things from adult to on. So I was nominated out of like 1,000 people. They selected 2 people. And this is with, I'm so excited, sorry. This is with Greater Arts Council.
Yeah.
The Dale, he was the vice president of AEP. He created an award to celebrate people that are intentional about bringing community events in the arts perspective, because there's a part of the festival I didn't talk about. We have a whole arts initiative, music, face painters, caricature artists. We go all out, so it's a complete festival. So yeah, I got an award, and I'm supposed to be accepting it at the end of October. So yeah, you guys. So we're out here working, and we're having a good time. But I want to inspire and encourage you. Please get out here, do your dream, do it afraid. If you see a need, feel a need, and make it happen.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I just want to add really quick, Lady Extreme. So I've attended several years, and if you don't know where it's at, the All Disabilities Fest is, if you're in Columbus, Coastside, right in front of Coastside, the humongous space in front of Coastside so the children can play. Lots of vendors were there. One of our vendors is Anika. She'll be speaking next with Unmuted Grace. And so because Lady Extreme had additional vendors that she just talked about just a minute ago, Anika was there. And who else told me about Anika but you know who? Celia, of course. She's like, Brenda, you gotta meet this lady. She's so awesome. She has a meet and grace, and she has a child. And She went through the whole list, right? I was like, all right, I'm coming over. Even I'm vending too. It didn't matter. I stopped. I ran over, got to meet Miss Anika, and she's going to share very soon. But I do just want to add this too, just like I did with Sister Leslie. For you, Lady Extreme, when you talked about filling in your buckets with the All Disabilities Fest, you talked about the skill building and how you were able to discover and navigate. And as time's gone on, because I don't think you knew about the buckets and the principle 11 years ago, but now that you know, you're able to continue to add, right, to that bucket. So like you talked about the skill building, you also talked about the vendors and discovering and getting more vendors as the festival continues. I don't remember how many, I read it somewhere, it's expanded to like 1,000. How many people have been there since you started?
So since I started, we had over 30,000 participants since in the 11 years that we've been here. Last year, we had over 3,000 people and 70 vendors.
Yeah.
And it's definitely it tripled since the pandemic. So yeah, we're having a good time. I didn't get a chance to count everybody. I just kind of took a snapshot, and I was just like, wow, I was very impressed. But we're down there just to help and love upon one another, and everybody to know that we're a family and we're building and growing together, sis. That's what we're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And it's beautiful to see, like she said, people from 0 to 100. When I get 101, I'm still coming to the fest. Let's just be clear. Okay. Don't be limited me when I get 101 talking about you too old to come. No, ma'am, I'm coming to the fest.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's
Yes,
the beautiful
ma'am.
thing too, with Charting Your Life course and the framework. As I said before, the tools are and the principles, the framework is for everybody from 0 all the way to end of life. Your seniors can use it. Maybe next year we can have, a resource table and share more about Charting Your Life course with the senior pavilion, or, just another space with the young people there too. As you can see, here's some pictures from her Christmas in July with the All Disabilities Festive. I'm telling you, it was amazing. Because I won't talk long because we have our additional panelists, but because for myself as a Black woman and having an invisible disability, right? I have ADHD. Being able to go and be amongst others that you may notice that they have a disability or that they don't, it doesn't matter. We're all just people and we get to hang out with each other. And I could be as corny as I want to, and nobody's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Brandy, slow down, settle yourself, right? Everybody at the festival is just having a ball. I'm telling you, they had DJs, they had music, they had fun. I had an amazing time. I'm going to stop, but I thank you, Lady Extreme. I thank you for sharing about the 3 buckets as well and how you were able to fill them. I do have the questions I'll ask you all at the end again, but now I'm going to present my third panelist. Her name is Anika Drafton, and she is the president, and I'm looking at her card because I got it when I was at the All Disabilities Fest. She is the president of Unmuted Grace. She'll share more about that. And she's also, let me see here, the CEO, huh? Yeah, I said it, the CEO of AAC Knowledge. Ms. Anika, go ahead and take the mic.
Thank you, Brandy.
You're so
Can you hear
welcome.
me okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. When I think about the 3 buckets, basically I think about them in terms of the way we all live our lives, in whether we kind of realize it or not. It's all about finding out new information and talking about that information, and then finding some way to implement some workaround or some solution to what it is that you've learned. So, what I'm going to share with you is how my personal journey sort of has morphed into how I am putting together Unmuted Grace. I founded Unmuted Grace as kind of a tribute to my muse. My daughter's name is Grace. She is nonverbal, non-speaking, so the Unmuted Grace is very clear. It's very literal, but there's also, I guess, another meaning to that name for me, and it was just simply that sometimes when you have a child that has a disability, there's a grieving process, but eventually you come to the point where it doesn't diminish the blessing that that child is for you. It just makes it different, right? And a lot of times, what I have found for me personally is that having her developed me. Having a child that can't speak has made me talk. And I understand things very differently because I look at the world, I try at least to see things from her eyes. And that is kind of how I am guiding my journey. The way I want to kind of start off is just explain to you kind of how I started. Initially, my daughter had a device, and I think she'd had it about 5 years. And anybody who knows anything about AAC, an AAC device, which is augmentative and alternative communication. Basically, they're talkers for kids who have complex communication needs who can't use their natural voice. Because it is kind of nichey, I hope that that was enough of an explanation for what it is. But my daughter, I'd never really heard of it outside of being introduced through my daughter and her therapist. Anyway, we'd had this device for 5 years, and to be really honest with you, the first couple of years, I was just overwhelmed and I didn't have a chance to do a lot with it. Even though I had a technical background, even though I'm a professional woman, even though I had all these things that should have been going for me, I just didn't have the capacity, is the truth. I just didn't have the capacity. It's not very easy to learn the devices, and I only really had time to focus on it after I had some time to take off work and I was going through a renewal process. So, with the devices, every 5 years, you go back to insurance and they will give you new hardware. And that process, I thought it was really difficult and convoluted to begin with, but I just thought we're just getting it. But I found out in renewal, it was just as convoluted and complicated to renew as well. In fact, it was worse in some ways because I felt like they were asking me to do things that didn't make any sense. My insurance company was requiring me to rent a device that I already had and my daughter had already been using successfully. They were requiring that I rent it for 3 months. They were requiring copies of my daughter's medical chart that had been signed and initialed by her doctor, dated, saying that we talked about her successful use. It was just really ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was aggravating. And I happened to ask a question. I was irritated and I asked the therapist and one of the device providers who I've been talking to, was there another way to access the communication or the language system? And she told me that it was available through the App Store. And I asked a few more questions. I came home. I talked to some people who were more aware of like Apple devices than I was. The next day, I put together a system for my daughter. We tested it for 6 months, and I decided I was telling because they had dragged me through a process for months. And it could have been solved within days. And there wasn't a dramatic difference that I experienced between a dedicated device and one that you just kind of put together yourself. And so I decided that I was going to tell other parents because what we're doing is hard enough. And that system, that process felt like that was capacity that parents just could not waste. And so I opened a company called Acknowledge Speech Solutions. And I thought, okay, I'll just help families to put together the devices. I will show them how to do it. I'll sit with them. We'll figure it out. I'll show them it's not difficult. Because again, a lot of times things are presented to us as rocket science to keep us from looking into it any further. And so I wanted to be very, very intentional when I talked to my parents about you can do this. We can do this. So far I've worked with 20 families and helped them to put together devices themselves. But as I've been talking to parents and as I've done more research and as I've talked to educators and I've talked to therapists and, I've learned it's just bigger than that. It's bigger than just giving families access to the devices and getting them started. I found out information like, there are other barriers to access. What the families that I was serving weren't families that were on Medicare or Medicaid. They were families that were working full-time jobs who had gone through their insurance, but their insurance out-of-pocket cost was still $1,400, $900, $1,600. It depends on the insurance plan. I felt like we needed somebody to talk for us, advocate for us. We needed to be able to band together to amplify each other's voices. And because I had a moment to take a breath, I decided I'll start. So I decided to found Unmuted Grace so that we could address the affordability factor, the advocacy factor, and put together a support system that would be ongoing for families. So it wouldn't be, you know, a 6-month course, or it wouldn't be a course at all. It would be people getting together, even in social ways, to sort of bridge the gap from what we learn in speech therapy and what we get in schools into families and into the communities. Because if families don't understand how our children communicate, we're not getting any further. We're not doing anything to help with those connections. And if the community doesn't understand how our children communicate, they won't be accepted, right? They won't. You make up stories about things that you don't understand. So we needed to figure out a way to be more visible so that people would have an opportunity to understand that just because our children aren't able to verbalize their words the way that you and I do, it doesn't mean that they don't have anything to say, and it doesn't mean that they don't have a lot going on in their little heads. So that's how we get to Unmuted Grace. And I've also in the process, the 3 buckets for me is just kind of always evolving, right? It's like I learned something, I talk to people, verify some things that I thought I knew intuitively, that I am learning, like, yeah, it's a thing. And I think what I'm learning, even as I'm developing this network for our families, is I'm learning personally again to trust myself. And I implore all of the moms to do that. Like, you see things from a different perspective. When I thought about Brandy's theme for the evening, culturally rooted, the fact that I am here and the fact that I am addressing this from my perspective, you can't get much more culturally rooted, right? Because the way that we experience everything is a little different. And the way that I am approaching the solutions to that is in a way that makes sure that we are not excluded and that serves our community. And there are some things that have kind of happened in the world
Anika, I think you're freezing a little bit.
of finding new connections. A member of the state advisory panel. You don't see me?
We can see you, but we missed the last comment.
Oh. So is this where I admit I don't know what I said, Brandy?
It's okay. Okay, because I do have a couple things.
That's okay.
that
Go
I
ahead
did-
and ask.
Yep, just want to share. But before I do so, each panelist has been able to fill in the buckets their way, right? And so if you are interested, because we don't have enough time for them to go over each and every, point that they've made and share here, I'll be happy to share it out if you guys, if the panelists don't mind, and if you would like to receive it, just send me an email. But what I really wanted to say was, when they're sharing the information, it wasn't necessarily about just sharing, like, okay, this is what's in my connecting and networking bucket, right? This is what is in my discovering and navigating. This is what's in my goods and services. They really want to share their story and how that looked for each and every panelist. So I know some people are like, what is it? I can't read it. It's not, big enough, but don't worry. We'll happily share it out if that's okay with the panelists. I didn't ask you in advance, but I did want to ask you, say this to you. Ms. Anika, when you start talking about discovering and navigating, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I heard you say was that you asked questions, right? You were able, once you got those questions answered, you were able to get into the app store. That was part of the goods and services. You also talked to others. And as you can see, if you don't know, Ms. Anika is a very detailed researcher. Let me just backtrack for 1 second just to show you that other slide there. And once again, it's a lot of information. You might not be able to read it all, but she really went into depth. So I think she's a researcher. I don't know if she's officially a researcher, but I for sure know that she did a lot of research. So that's how she was filling in that bucket with discovering and navigating, right? She also talked about other barriers and how private insurance, even if you're working, you don't have Medicaid or Medicare, how those resources were lacking. So she was able to fill that bucket, the discovering and navigating bucket, by helping, by learning about the money how much money it costs, depending on what insurance you have and et cetera. Connecting and networking. She was helping other parents, and she still helps other parents, and being very intentional. At this point, you said you've helped 20 families, and you've also started Unmuted Grace, and that is around the advocacy and ongoing support. Goods and services, we talked about just the Apple Store, and it's just more, it's bigger than just what you see, right, from where you are. Before because I did kind of jump in on you, was there anything else that you wanted to share in reference to, did you have an aha moment, or did you want to share anything else about the buckets?
No, I think my aha moment was that nothing that I've kind of experienced seems to have been wasted, right? Like I came to this because I had this child who had this challenge that I wasn't aware of. But now that I am working with Unmuted Grace and advocating for this community, there's a lot of my background that's coming back. So when I was very young, I worked with children with severe developmental disabilities. My background is technical and data analysis. There is a big data problem for this community. I have worked 15 years in nonprofit and leadership during the pandemic. I understand how nonprofits work, right? My background is almost 30 years in banking and finance. I know how money works. So I don't think that, and there's something about my personality. If you let TikTok algorithm say it, there I may have a little bit of ADHD or high functioning or low support needs, autism, but I have a real need to, a real visceral response to injustice. And what's happening with our community is not, it's not right. None of us had to earn our voice, and the hoops that they make us jump through are unacceptable. They really are not.
Definitely agree. Well, before I finish up here, I just want to once again thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you, Sister Leslie, for sharing your story, and thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing from, you know, where your daughter began life and then where she is now, and how she's made, you know, the progress and transitions through this journey. Thank you, Sister Lady Extreme Nicole, for sharing too how, you know, you've done the All Disabilities Fest for 11 years, and how it's getting bigger and stronger every year. And for Miss Anika, thank you for sharing your story as well, from the vantage point that you knew that there was a need, right? Because you had your daughter, Grace. And then from that need, you didn't just stop and try and help yourself. You wanted to help others. And as far as you've helped 20 families, but it's unlimited amount of families that you can continue to help. That's the thing for me, and I believe for everybody that's part of the Family Resource Network of Ohio, and just Charting a Life Course in general. It's all about giving everybody the opportunity to learn about the tools, giving everybody the opportunity to learn about the principles and the framework of Charting a Life Course for yourself and for others. So then you can share, right? Because we all have testimonies. We all can fill in our buckets if you take a moment out to be like, how can I talk about discovering navigating? You know, I could do it from Resilient Journeys, right? And I could do the same thing with each bucket, and I can fill each bucket in. And being able to have that information on paper, you are able to see it and you're able to share it. Each month, we have different panelists. We always have Lady Extreme Nicole every month, and she goes deep and shares and is very vulnerable with the tool that we're using. Next month, we'll have 2 additional panelists, and you'll be able to hear about their story. And we'll be doing the vision tool and what that looks like. November, let me slow myself down. October is the 3rd Thursday. In November, December, and January, we are on the 2nd Thursday of the month. And then we're hoping, to fingers crossed and toes crossed, that we'll be able to continue February through June. And then we will do Tuesdays. Yeah, I said it. We will do Tuesdays. Funding and everything works out, we'll be able to start on Tuesdays, because there's several support groups, several moms and me groups, Autism and We. There's other support groups and other individuals that would like to participate. However, they're not always able to, because they meet on Thursdays as well. So because we already have the time set thus far to January, we're definitely, God willing, we'll push to Tuesdays starting in February. All right, let me look at my notes, make sure I have everything down. that I needed to say. Yes. If you don't know, now you know. October 16th, we're going to be talking about sacred strength. And we'll also do the vision tool, as I said, for wholeness around generations. So remember, that'll be October the 16th. That'll be from 7 to 8 p.m. And before we go, we have about 5 minutes left. This is unheard of. We always, usually be rushing, finishing maybe a couple minutes after because we have such deep and great conversations. But before we go, because you're awesome audience, we want to know if you guys have any questions. Oh, Monica, thank you. She said she aspired each speaker. So thank you. Any questions from our awesome audience? I have a couple questions, and then if you all have questions, please throw them in the chat or you can unmute. Question for Sister Leslie, Sister Anika, and also Lady Extreme. What will you do now that you've completed the 3 buckets? And then do you plan to share out the 3 buckets with either the organization that you're representing, your family, or just keep it for yourself?
I definitely will share out and just, actually, I like it. I'm just sitting there thinking about, when we have, different sessions in group, I like it it seemed like it's a nice, icebreaker. So I definitely will be using it and just be, more cognitive of the 3 buckets. Now, this is the first time that I've done this. So in doing it, I've learned a couple other things. So yeah, just I'll just be more mindful of it and definitely share.
Thank you so much. Miss Anika and or Lady Extreme.
As I alluded to before, I think that even if I don't formally show the 3 buckets, I think that that's kind of the way that I think about things. As you take in information and you kind of talk through what that information is, and then you act accordingly, whether that is creating a solution, whether that's making a decision. I think that's kind of something that we can all kind of integrate, that we're probably all doing to some extent. I just never thought about it as 3 buckets.
Awesome.
It was just really another way to look at it for me.
It is, yeah. And Lady Extreme, did you want to add a comment or you want to jump in?
Absolutely. Anytime, the thing that I love about what we're doing is you can always go back and re-reflect on these buckets. They're not penciling or just pigeonholing you into one way of doing things. As you grow, as you learn, as you gain relationships, as you gain resources, you can always go back to the bucket and change. It's definitely something that I'm definitely going to share beyond just myself, with others, because a lot of times people need to see that there is, how to navigate their personal life and incorporate into the buckets, but they're also their business life. When you're an influencer, you can find a way to navigate this in the bucket. So it's definitely a great resource.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much. I have a couple comments in the chat. So Meredith says, thank you for the great information. Have a wonderful evening. Celia says, I love how you all rolled up your sleeves and dove into addressing the issues, refusing to sit back and watch, paving the voice for others, amplifying voices. And she puts exclamation point, yes. I admire each speaker. That's Monica. And last but not least, Celia also said, oh, it's coming fast. Hold on. Celia said, yes, Anika, when I listen to families, I always listen for which bucket is empty. Good point. Karen said, I am grateful for the speakers and the discussion. I learned so much tonight. We have 2 minutes left. And if you can, just take this 2 minutes out to fill out what else? The evaluation. We have 24 people left on the call for this evening. If we can get 20 out the 24, because several of us probably won't be able to do the evaluation since we're speaking, right? But if you can, because it is grant funded, we always ask each time we're on, if you can please fill out the evaluation. It takes just a moment or two. We just want to know how we're doing, what we can be doing better, what you would like to see. And maybe we can, maybe we can add that to our toolbox for the future. Don't forget, my email address is at the beginning. You can always reach out to me because we're always looking for additional panelists. Each month we have a different tool that we'll be using. Once again, in October, we're doing the vision tool. In November, we are doing the one pager, and I can't even tell you about our speakers yet. They're amazing. Krishana, I'll tell you about who it is later. And then we also have, for December, January, et cetera, we have some amazing panelists too. So it's just a cool way to learn about the tools and how our panelists are using the tools for themselves and for their families as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on. Thanks for staying the whole time. Thank you for just being here. Thanks for continuing to learn about Charting a Life course. Don't forget to go to frnohio.org. You can see plenty of videos. You can see different information about Charting a Life course and the tools and the framework. You can also see, and also be part of the Facebook page. Yes, Facebook. I know we're like, past the millennial age, so we're still on Facebook. Yeah, jump on, check us out. We'd love to see you guys again. Thank you. Have a great night and take some time to breathe. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.